Arsenal are not winning the league. And that's what everyone would want you to believe. Obviously, guys, we've seen Arsenal have a tough start to the season, but I think there's more to come. This is Shannon, and this is the Gunner's Voice podcast. As always, guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like and leave your comments below on the video. And let's get into it. I think, if we're being honest, it's been an up and down start to the season for Arsenal. I think many of us fans have expected us to be in a better position. But if we're also being realistic, 9 points is not a gap that Arsenal cannot make up. There are 27 games left, and I think it would be next to impossible to say that Liverpool are going to run away with this league and that Arsenal have no chance of regaining top spot. But if we're also being honest, some performances this season have been a bit lackluster, and there is obviously cause for concern. But I do think there are a couple of things that Arsenal can do to rectify their season, and I think we will touch on all of those, or what I think are the key ones, in this video. So like I said, guys, stay tuned, and this is the video. So, one of the biggest things I think that we've seen from Arsenal this season, and it's one of my bigger concerns, is our defensive instability. Arsenal, over the past couple of seasons, have been the best team defensively. Not just as having two of the best centre-backs probably in the league or across Europe, but in terms of a team that is good in and out of possession. And I think this season, and I'm not too sure exactly what it is. Could it be some of the changes we've had to make in certain positions? Could it be just teams becoming a bit more aware of how to break us down? But I do think that if Arsenal are to stand any chance of getting back into this title race and also winning the league, then our defense is going to have to step up. Guys like Saliba are not looking as good as they've been over the couple of seasons that we've seen them. Saliba, for example, getting his first red card, and I think the way he got the red card is also, very unlike him. It was very sloppy. Yes, Trossard, poor back pass against Bournemouth. But ultimately, you don't expect a player of Saliba's quality and caliber to make that kind of decision. And, we've just seen that. And then, looking at the goals we've conceded in the last couple of games. Look at Chelsea with Pedro Neto, who had the whole Stamford Bridge field to himself, basically, to score that goal. You had Saliba, who was out of position. Rice and Partey were basically in the back line. There was no one covering that space in the 6 foot to slow down or even stop Neto from taking that shot. The goal that we conceded against Newcastle, Isak in acres of space. Gabriel maybe not as touch tight as he should have been to get that goal. And I think the goals we scored conceded maybe against Southampton, even against Leicester. Yes, Leicester's goals were unfortunate, and also one of them were worldy. But I just think Arsenal's defensive stability this season has left a lot to be desired. And I think if we are to do well, then I think we have to be good as a unit. I think since losing Odegaard as well, we've seen that Arsenal haven't been as good in the press as what I would have liked to see. Yes, there's been moments where we've been a lot better, but I think Odegaard being the trigger for our press has been a huge miss. And I think a lot of people don't give him the credit for that. I think everyone thinks of Odegaard and thinks that we're missing in terms of what he brings offensively, but defensively as well. He's the leader on the field. He's the organizer. He's Arteta's right-hand man on the field, And I think now that he's back, and hopefully he can have a prolonged stay in the team, hopefully he's injury-free, we'll see Arsenal's pressing style or pressing game get back to its best. Because, last season I think we were really, really good in our press. We were able to really shut teams down, keep them in their half, and force the teams into a lot of mistakes. So I think if we are able to do that again this season, or start to get back to that, I think that's going to be a huge step. And obviously, there is the midfield instability. It's like, do you play Thomas Partey in the 6? Do you play Declan Rice? For now, in my opinion, Thomas Partey has been probably one of the most standout players for us this season. However, and I'll reiterate, guys, because we're not as defensively assured as what we were last season, I would then put our best defensive midfielder, which is Declan Rice, in front of the backline, protecting the midfield, the defense. And I think if we can do that, we will see ourselves conceding a lot less goals. Rice is more mobile. He is very good in the duels. And I think if you throw in Mikel Merino in that left 8 position, I think you are starting to win a lot more duels and a lot more challenges before you even get to the defense. So I think if Arteta is going to make a change in the midfield, I think that, in my opinion, would be the change. There's nothing wrong with Thomas Partey. I just think that for where we are currently as a team, We need to start racking up some more clean sheets. And as we build our defensive stability and solidity, you can then reintroduce a player like Thomas Partey, who's more fluid and more of a line breaker or a press-resistant player, in the midfield there. So that's the first point. Arsenal need to be defensively better. Second point for me personally, that is one of the reasons why we've seen Arsenal struggle this season, is the lack of effectiveness from the rest of the squad. If you look back at the summer window now that's just passed, Emile Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Fabio Vieira, Eddie Nketiah, 4 forward players that, yes, some people might say are not up to the quality that you need for Arsenal to be winning a league. But you've lost 4 players in attacking positions, in my opinion, that will cover and maybe would be able to come in and do a job this season, which we haven't seen from our substitutes enough this season. The likes of Gabriel Jesus, the likes of Raheem Sterling, those are just 2 players, for example, I feel that have come in and not taken the chances when they've been given. Trossard, to some extent, has come in and not taken the chances that he's been given in terms of how many starts that he's had over the last couple of months since Odegaard's been out. Trossard hasn't made that position his own, and it's not to say that you're expecting Trossard to displace Odegaard in that position, but it's almost feel like we've completely lost a player there, and everyone else that's come into that position or come into the system has just not matched or come close to that level. And I think if Arsenal, like I said, are to compete on all fronts this season, are to go for the league title, then we're going to need the rest of our squad to step up. We cannot rely on 11 players, or let's say even 8 players, for example, to lead us to a title challenge. You're going to need at least 15 consistent players to potentially win this league title. And I think that's where Arsenal are currently lacking. Yes, it's still early in the season, but I think we might have to look into the January window to maybe bring 1 or 2 players in, just to maybe up the level of either the starting 11 or on the bench again, because if we're being honest, is Mikel Merino a player that comes into the Arsenal team and is a level that wins us the league? Maybe, maybe not. But at the same time, I think that we can add another Mikel Merino-esque type of signing, and I think that just bodes well for our bench, for our rotational options. And I think, if Arsenal can somehow figure that out, whether it is a new system, maybe introducing different players into different positions or signing someone new, then I think that is something that we have to look at. We cannot, like I said, rely on only 11 players to win us this league title. We need the squad to step up. And I think if that can happen, then I think we can have a really good charge for the title. So let me know your thoughts, guys. Are there anyone, or is there anyone you would maybe sell from this current crop of players in January and bring in someone new? Or do you think, we also haven't seen a full-strength squad, and that's also why we are now relying on certain players more than what we should have? The third point for me is that I think Arteta could be a bit more tactically savvy. And what I mean by that is, when you don't have certain players to play a certain system, maybe you need to change your system. And, when we saw Arteta come in, guys, in his first season, or his first half of the season, that half season that he came in, Arsenal deployed a back 5. And we still played some really good football, but we were also defensively assured. And I think maybe when you're losing the likes of Odegaard and, maybe the likes of now Ben White, who's going to be out for a while, or maybe you're struggling to get a good performance out of Declan Rice or whoever it is, maybe the system needs to change in order to accommodate those players that you have available to you. And I think, yes, I like that Arteta sticks by his guns, but I do think that sometimes those are the things that kind of go against him, that he wants to win maybe in one set way. And look, I'm not a qualified licensed coach. I've never worked at the top level of football. But what I will say is that sometimes, just in life, if you do the same thing and it's not working and you're expecting a different result, they do tend to call you crazy. And yes, sometimes we can hail Arteta as a genius and call him crazy in his own regard. But I think this regard, is different, where it's like you are trying to force players to be something that they're not, instead of changing the system to accommodate those that you have. And I think I need Arteta this season to be more savvy, more ruthless, more smarter in managing how we tackle this season, because we're going to face a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges. We're going to face different opposition in different contexts, and sometimes we can't always rely on the players to make the changes. It must have to come from the manager. The manager is going to have to be the one to then be the one to take responsibility for those changes. So I think I'm really looking at Arteta this season to become a bit more tactically, and this is obviously not a dig at Arteta at all, but just tactically savvy. For example, if you playing against a certain team and you see that your let's say your 4-4-2 that it's like kind of what you're playing right now is not working. Why not go 4-1-1, or maybe go into a back five and maybe have someone else as a wing back. You know, people say, why would you maybe don't move Saka to the wing back? But I wouldn't be too opposed to that. You know, just maybe you get a 5-3-2 going where you have a Susan and Havertz up front with Saka and Martinelli playing as wing backs. You know, something where the opposition have to think about something. You know, a point that was made to me is that when last have we seen Arsenal, in terms of our wingers, switch sides during a game? Find Saka on the left wing or Martinelli on the right wing. And I know that's not common, but what I'm saying is we need to be giving opposition teams and managers something different to think about. They can't know every single game that Arsenal are going to play a certain way and it's predictable. And I think, yes, there will be days where our quality shines through, but there'll be days where we need to rely on a tactical move or tactical chess move from Arteta to get us a scrappy 1-0 victory. So, yeah, I just think if Arteta can just make little tweaks here and there, I think that can go a long way into Arsenal being a lot more successful this season and maybe bringing back in the trophies that all of us as fans are hoping. Another thing that I want to mention is the fan base. I think as fans, myself included, we tend to be a bit emotional when it comes to Arsenal. I think that's from a position of not having won in a long time and being so desperate for success that any sign of fragility or that dream potentially being tarnished sends this fan base into a frenzy. And I think we as Arsenal fans have been in 2 title races now, and if we've gotten heartbreak in both. I think that should give us a bit more experience and know-how on how to handle these kind of slumps. To know that, listen, Arsenal in January last year were 8 points behind Liverpool, but we finished ahead of them. You know, so it is possible to rectify this, and you know, rectifying it maybe earlier in the season as opposed to when we did last season, because last season we only turned around our season at like basically the end of January, where this time we've got from November to turn our season around. So I think my call to Arsenal fans is just back the team, be a bit more calm, and I think that'll also relate to the manager and to the fans, and to the players, if the fan base are a bit more calm, a bit more believing. And I think, yes, it's easy to see Liverpool, to say that Liverpool, look at Slot, what he's doing. But remember, guys, they will also have their slump. It might not be now in November, it might not be December, it might only come in January or February, maybe even March. But Liverpool, and I can guarantee you this, they won't sustain this level that they are at now because there's too many games, there's too many twists and turns. The level of the Premier League, for example, has improved drastically. I mean, you've got guys like Unai Emery, who's won multiple Europa Leagues, coaching Aston Villa. You know, you've got Julian Lopetegui, who used to be the Real Madrid manager, coaching West Ham. You've got the Brighton manager, I can't get his name right now, but look how good he's doing with Brighton. You know, Man United have brought in Ruben Amorim, who obviously, I'm not talking about as United as a small team, but look at the quality that United have there now as well. So just all over the league, from top to bottom, you've got quality managers that can beat any team on a given day. You know, and I think we as fans need to realize that it's still early in the season. We've only played 11 games, guys. We played a lot of our toughest games away from home. I mean, we haven't lost against City, we haven't lost against Liverpool, haven't lost against Villa, haven't lost against Spurs. You know, haven't lost against Chelsea. You know, those are tough fixtures. Yes, we went to Newcastle and lost, and fair enough, I think we deserve to lose. But in all those other games that we maybe have dropped the points, I think you could make a fair statement or fair argument that Arsenal probably should have won those games. So I've seen enough from Arsenal this season to know that there is the hunger in the boys. Yes, we've been unlucky with injuries, some calls, some decisions there. But in the whole, I don't think the performances or the season is as doom and gloom as a lot of fans are making it out to be. And I think we also have to get behind our boys, have a bit more chest, a bit more confidence, and realize that, yes, rival fans will try to banter us if we lose or say that we have to win the league. But at the same time, I think it's something that we need to take with both hands and say, yes, you know what, we believe our team can win the league. We know that we're good enough. I mean, there was a time when Arsenal were getting beaten by all our rivals every season. Tell me when last Arsenal have lost against a Big Six team. I'll wait. Still waiting. Still waiting for you to tell me. Exactly. It's been that long. So if that doesn't tell you something about this Arsenal team and how Arteta has transformed the team both on the pitch and off the pitch in terms of their mentality, then I don't know what will. So like I said, guys, the season is not all doom and gloom. Don't always and don't only listen to what the pundits have to say, because most of these pundits don't like Arsenal anyway. Most of the newspapers don't like Arsenal. They don't want to see Arsenal succeed, because back in their heyday, Arsenal were the team that terrorized them. And now obviously they're in a position where they've seen Arsenal maybe not be successful for many years, and now they're looking at it as a way to try to divide us as fans. But I think, if anything, as fans, we should unite, get behind our boys, and say it's us against them. You know? Regardless of whether you're Arteta in or Arteta out, or this one in or that one out, whatever your stance is, support the team. Support the team until there's no point of potentially winning something. For now, every single competition is open for us to win. We're still in a chance of winning the league. Champions League is still very much a possibility. FA Cup hasn't started, and we're in the quarterfinals with a favourable home draw against Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup. So there's a lot for us as fans to be hopeful for. Yes, guys, I understand that the first 11 games have been a bit up and down. But they could have gotten a lot worse for us. We could have lost the Brighton game down to 10 men. We could have lost the City game. We could have lost the Liverpool game. But maybe these points that we're looking at as disappointments could be the reason we win the league in May. So like I said, if you believe the hype and you listen to the papers, Arsenal aren't winning the league. But if you're like me, an Arsenal fan who's actually watched the team and actually knows what's going on, you'll know that there's more to come from this team. So like I said, guys, get behind the boys and let's see what happens. As always, guys, thank you so much for joining in and watching the Gunner's Voice podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to Goal and Goal Media and stay tuned. Click that notification bell so you stay tuned to every single Gunner's Voice podcast, as well as the Toxic Show, which we will be hosting weekly. So yeah, guys, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.